What's up, y'all, and welcome to another edition of Too Busy, Too Busy, Too Busy Tuesday. Hey, too busy, too busy, too busy Tuesday. Hey, I am so excited to be back, y'all. I was off last week. I had a workshop. It was phenomenal. I had such a great time being able to do the work that I get to do. And so, for those of you that may be new here, welcome to Too Busy Tuesday. My name is Raffinée. I am a licensed professional counselor in the state of Texas, and this is not counseling, but Too Busy is my series where I get to share some things that I no longer have time or energy for. Now, if you've been rocking with me for a bit, you know that sometimes I'm here by myself and sometimes I'm here with a special guest. And what I like to remind everyone is that just because I'm too busy for something or just because my guest is too busy does not equal that you also have to be too busy for it. So the beautiful thing about all of this is that you get to pick and you get to decide if you also want to be too busy, if maybe you are available for it, or if maybe you've been available for it and you're like, you know what, I think I do need to start being too busy for this because I don't have time or energy for this. So you get to decide. There's no right or wrong or hard and fast that it has to be exactly the way that I'm living this stuff out. And y'all, today's topic really is one that is kind of near and dear to my heart because I've had an experience over the last couple of weeks and most recently, like this past weekend, with what I'm going to talk about today. And so, my topic today here's what I'm too busy for. When it comes to dealing with like fear that is crippling, to that I say too busy. Now, y'all, I have said before that some of these topics are hard and fast for me, and others are still a work in progress. And this is one of those that is still a work in progress. I, oh, even thinking about it raises up something in me. So, y'all, I will never forget a few years ago, I had a friend talk to me, and my friend was like, Raffinée, like, if you're not doing something solely because of fear, then I don't think that's a good reason. I was like, what? So my friend is like, fear alone is not a good enough reason to not do something. And I remember kind of being like, okay, but I still had a lot of hesitation because as a therapist, I know like, hey, all my emotions are real and they serve a purpose and they're communicating to me. That's something I say all the time. Like if you've watched any of my series, been to a workshop of mine, any of that, heard me talk about emotions, I say that all the time. And so in my mind, I'm thinking, but my fear is serving a purpose and my fear is trying to signal something to me and it's giving me information and data. And I don't know that I just want to not listen to that information or data or ignore what it's trying to communicate to me. So I kind of was like, oh, okay, we'll see. But over time, y'all, what I have realized is that, okay, yes, fear is serving a purpose. It's trying to signal to me that maybe there's some kind of threat, that maybe there's some kind of danger, that maybe I need some level of protection or I need to be guarded from something. I also know that fear is not always rooted in something that is factual in nature. Sometimes that fear is rooted in an assumption that I have made, a narrative or a story that my brain has created, even sometimes an evaluation that I've placed on a scenario. And so please don't walk away saying, well, Raffinée said, just ignore the fear and go on. That is not what I'm saying. I do believe that there is value in being able to pay attention to what fear may be trying to communicate to you. I also believe there is value in being able to see, is what this fear is trying to communicate to me rooted and grounded in something that is factual, or is it rooted and grounded in something that is an assumption? Now, a few too busies ago, I talked about not making assumptions and how I'm too busy for just making assumptions about things. And y'all, that's still a work in progress too. And if you need to go back, watch the replay on that one because I'm not going to get into that today yet. Here's what I've seen happening in my life most recently. I have seen that fear has become a barrier and has kind of had me in this place of being like frozen or at a standstill because I was so consumed and worried and stressed about things not going the way that I expect them to. The unknown of how something was going to play out, the fear of like Is this going to be well received? Are people going to be interested? Like all the things, y'all. So I'll give you two examples. So a couple weeks ago, I was thinking about having a conversation with a friend of mine, and I was just like, "Ooh, I don't know if I want to have this conversation," because going back to the unknown, I didn't know how my friend was going to respond. I did not know if having this conversation with my friend would change the nature of our relationship. And so I was like super worried. I was just like, "Oh my gosh, I don't know about this. It's too much up in the air of what could happen, like best case scenario and worst case scenario." And so what I realized was that, like, hey, Raffinée, the reason that you don't want to have this conversation or you're hesitant to have this conversation is fear. And this fear is rooted in a lot of assumptions, a lot of narratives, a lot of story that you have created in your mind. And if you're saying that you believe that this person is a friend of yours, then at some level, you've got to believe that this friend is not going to just be like, oh, I'm done fooling with you, or be jerky, or be rude or disrespectful. And so I decided, y'all, I was like, okay, I'm gonna have the conversation. And literally, the only thing that I was like really leaning on was like, okay, I'm gonna have this conversation. I don't know what's gonna happen. What I do know is I believe this person is my friend. This person is not gonna be jerky to me, and this person is not gonna be rude to me. And that's what I felt like I was grounded in going into this conversation, because I was so like, oh. And so I had the conversation, y'all. Com- Technical difficulties. Okay. So the conversation went well. Conversation, again, I can't say that I expected it to go any certain way. I had lots of pictures in my mind, yet it went well. It was well received. Friend was like, cool, I want to process this and then we can talk about this again. And I walked away like, okay, like I, now being a few days removed from having the conversation, I feel such a level of like relief and calm for having the conversation, for sharing what it was that I was feeling, the things that were going on in my mind, and knowing that I've put it out there. And now my friend has the opportunity to process, respond how they see fit, and I don't have to stress and worry about that. And another scenario, I said I would give you two scenarios. So the other scenario that I've seen here recently is connected to my retreat. So I'm hosting a parent and teen retreat in October, and I'm super excited about it. And it has been something that I've wanted to do for a long time. It's kind of been like this dream of mine. And I was traveling a couple of weeks ago, and while I was on the plane, I just started journaling because I was like, I read two chapters in a book, felt inspired, and I was like, I feel like I want to write right now. So I sat down and did a little. Well, clearly I'm on a plane, but I started journaling, and in that journaling, one of the things that came up was like, oh, I'm really afraid. Like, I'm super excited about this thing. I think it's going to be phenomenal. I've been wanting to create space where parents and teens can connect and can have some of the conversations that maybe they ordinarily would not have at home. I've been wanting to create a space where parents can begin to bridge some of those gaps that exist between their teens. I've been wanting to create a space that was not available to me and my mom when I was a teenager. And so in my journaling, I realized like, oh, there's a lot of fear associated with this. What if it doesn't go exactly the way that I picture it in my head? What if people don't sign up? What if it's not well received? What if, like, literally all the things, y'all? And I was like, well, I mean, people won't sign up if I don't tell them about it. So that's one. And it might not go exactly the way I picture in my head, yet that does not equal failure or that it's bad or that it's not a good event or experience. And so, y'all, literally, I sat on that plane and just started going to town, like writing lists and things that I wanted to do and people that I wanted to reach out to, because in that moment, I was reminded, like, Raffinée, you are incredibly passionate about this work. This is not about money. Like, this is really a heart work, because I know what my relationship was like with my mother as a teenager. and I work with a lot of teenagers, and I see such a need to like bridge those gaps that exist there between parents and teens. And so I can be an agent of change in helping parents and teens to be able to bridge those gaps that exist. And so I was like, okay, one of my friends asked me, can you use that fear and turn it into fuel? Because I shared with a friend about it. And I said, now that I've identified what's happening and what has prevented me from, sharing about it or talking to people about it, I think I can, because I can channel that instead of allowing it to be crippling or allowing it to immobilize me from continuing to pursue this thing. And so, y'all, listen, that is so, it's, I'm not saying that the fear is not there. I feel like I have so many thoughts rolling. So I'm not saying the fear is not still there. There is still some. Yet I am making an active choice daily to do something to turn that fear into some kind of fuel or energy that I can use, instead of allowing it to be a barrier or to stop me from doing this thing that I'm so excited about, this thing that I'm so passionate about, this thing that I really believe is been birthed in me to do this thing. And so you may be watching this and like, you got a retreat? What is the retreat? So great. I'm glad you asked. So I'm hosting a parent and teen retreat. It's happening October 21st to the 23rd. It's going to be here in Texas. And it's only open to 9 families, so it's a limited amount of space, and it's for teens between the ages of 13 to 18. And so if you're a parent, if you're a caregiver, and you've got a teenager and you're like, man, we could benefit from having some conversations. We're going to be talking about all kinds of things. We're going to be talking about communication. We're going to be talking about boundaries. We're going to be talking about the difference between buying and owning and renting. So talking about some real estate stuff. We're going to be talking about like having noble intentions. So believing the best in your teen, and for the teens, believing the best in the parents. We're going to be talking about physical intimacy. I've got a sex therapist that's going to be coming through and sharing. Y'all, it is going to be a phenomenal time. And so if you're interested, you want to hear some more about it, you want to sign up, you got a friend that you think should come, share this link with them. You can go to my website, raffinewilson.com. You can also go to raffinewilson/listen-here-retreat to sign up and get more information. There are payment plans available. If you have questions, you can also reach out to me, DM me, email me, whatever the case may be. Like, I have decided that I am no longer going to allow fear to be a barrier. I'm no longer going to allow fear to be a roadblock to the things that I want to do. I'm no longer going to allow fear to cripple me from doing the things that I'm so passionate about doing and the things that I'm so excited to be able to present. And here's the thing, like, that fear, if I allowed it to be a barrier, to be a roadblock, to be crippling, I would not be doing this retreat. I would not be doing workshops. I probably wouldn't even be doing Too Busy Tuesday. And I'm probably almost a year into doing Too Busy Tuesday now. And when I started Too Busy Tuesday, y'all, I had the idea to do it like over a year prior. And I just didn't do it. And so this series is actually a manifestation of me choosing to push through the fear and the worry and the thoughts of what if and how are people going to receive it. Like, I cannot get consumed in that. And like I said at the beginning, this is still a work in progress for me. This is not something that I feel like I've fully arrived at yet. I feel so encouraged because I can look at other areas of my life and see like, hey, you were afraid to do this thing and you're doing it and it's going well, or people are listening, or people have received it. Like, y'all, literally, I could sit here and probably talk for another 30 minutes about this. I'm not going to, but I could. But I really want to encourage you, if you're out there and you're like me, or you've been like me in the past and you have struggled and fear has been something that has been really crippling and immobilizing for you and been a barrier to being able to do some of the things that you're passionate or excited or happy about, I want to encourage you to turn some of that fear into fuel, into some motivation, into something that you can use to push you towards doing the thing in spite of the fear. So I'd love to hear from y'all. Drop me a comment below and let me know if any of this resonates with you, if you've been there, if you have been able to push through fear, what has helped you? Like, I would love to see it. And here's the thing. When I ask y'all to comment, it's not just for me. I think it's beautiful because other people also get to see and get some ideas of like, oh, I could try that out. So I am Raffinée. Like I said, if you're interested in hearing more, learning more about the retreat, please go to the link. It's also going to be linked in the show notes if you're listening to this on podcast, or if you're watching this on YouTube, or if you're watching this on Facebook. I know people listen and watch in different platforms, but the information will be available on all the platforms. And I look forward to joining y'all again next week for another Too Busy Tuesday. All right.